The Bellator president joins us now via the magic of Zoom. Hello, Scott. How are you?
Hey, Aaron. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to talk to you as always. You're looking fresh, back from Dublin. Can I ask you, Scott? I was wondering, man, I love those shows. I tweeted during the event, I secretly kind of wish that Bellator was an Irish promotion so that all your events would be in front of those crowds. And I understand, like, if you did it every week, it would kind of lose a bit of its luster. But as someone, like, I had the pleasure of going to some of your, Shark Tank shows back in the day, the Strikeforce shows, even pre-Showtime. Like, those were incredible. The local guys, the crowds. I remember one time it was Bobby Southworth versus Babalu Sobral in the main event. And then two guys came on afterwards. It was on HDNet. Two guys who were local kickboxing guys who I'd never heard of, who were like 0-1 and 1-0 because they fought each other in MMA, came on and the place exploded. And I was like, who are these guys? Everyone came to watch those guys. You probably know who they are off the top of your head. They weren't household names, but you have been at those shows where the atmosphere was incredible. Can you compare these Dublin shows to the ones you did back in the heyday of Bay Area MMA?
I'll tell you, the biggest crowd was the Shamrock versus Cesar Gracie, but the loudest crowd was Shamrock versus Conley.
Yeah.
Because you had the Conley and his following. It's like East Bay versus the West Bay kind of thing, and it was so loud in there. I think we had 14 or 15,000 people, but they were passionate. And when the fans are passionate about who's fighting, as you know, then it gets loud and it gets crazy. And Dublin is a whole nother level. I mean, if you've never seen a fight in Dublin, I've never heard of fans like, the way they sing and it's just an amazing spiritual experience that everybody in mixed martial arts has to go there, come to the Bellator fight and experience it because it is fantastic.
So you guys announced that you're going back in February. Are you open to going back more than twice a year? It seems like you've kind of settled on twice a year, but because they're so well attended and it just comes across so like such a fun vibe and event and experience on television, is it even feasible to go back more than twice a year?
I'll tell you, twice a year has been our sweet spot.
Okay.
I feel like we should probably just keep it right there. I think the fans get hungry enough after 6 months to really attend. And this is the largest crowd we've ever had in the building. This is the largest gate we've ever had in Dublin.
Wow.
So you're talking about we're gaining momentum and growing, and the brand is growing, and things we're doing over there with Virgin Television and Virgin Media and the local marketing. It's just, and really it starts with the fighters. I mean, we went there, we started signing fighters. James Gallagher was the very first guy that we signed to represent Ireland to come to America and fight. And then we started signing more fighters and more fighters. And I think we probably have a dozen Irish fighters. And, don't be surprised. One of the things that we're talking about internally is it's not a done deal yet, but is doing some type of challenger series over there. Right.
Oh, really?
So in between the big fights, work something out where we could maybe keep these guys continue to fight either in Europe or there, but something that along the lines of a challenger series where they can continue to fight and gain the experience and climb the ladder to eventually get to the big show.
So I was just about to ask you, it does seem like you have some kind of like magic formula over there in Europe. The European shows always come across as hot crowds, hot events, regardless of who's fighting on them. I don't feel, this is, I could tell it to you like it is, right? I don't feel the same type of energy in America. How do you get that energy to come over to America for the brand?
Well, you know what? It's like I said, Ireland is something very special. You're France because it's so new. I mean, how many fights are in America? It's like
Right.
Every weekend there's like a dozen fights on the weekend somewhere in the country. So I just think it's just a matter of frequency, and that Europe is just starting. I mean, France, think about this. We did the first fight 2 years ago, and there's been like probably 4 or 5 fights in the whole history of the country, right? So they're hungry, they're passionate. It's like a new sport. This is new for them. It kind of reminds me of, back when it was new here, right? And in the meantime, we're going to keep building the new stars and giving the guys like Pitbull the opportunity to fight, the top guys in Bellator. And but if you look at, our commitment to building the next group of fighters, those are the fighters that have to carry on the torch. And those are the fighters that have to develop a fan base and put on exciting fights and deliver it to the point where they build their fan base and build passionate fans. Because that's the one thing I will say in Europe, the fans are super passionate. I do feel that way. Like if you were in LA in the building when AJ stopped Pitbull last year, it was electric in there. I mean, it was electric. And same thing in San Jose when the fight started with a rematch. I mean, it was electric in the building. So there, if the fights are at that, have that intensity to them and the passion to them, and they have that heat to them, the fans will respond.
Okay, so that's a perfect transition point. Why are we seeing AJ and Pitbull on the same card but not fighting each other? I think everyone was kind of secretly hoping for the trilogy, maybe at 55 to give it a new. But ultimately, why did you decide to split them up for this?
Well, we thought about doing the trilogy, and my understanding was that AJ wanted to fight at 55 and try it for this event, and so let's see how he does. I mean, listen, win, lose, draw, whatever happens, I still think that he's, I believe, the number one ranked contender in 45. So let's see what happens with Pitbull's fight with Boris, but that's not an easy fight. That's going to be a tough fight. I'm telling you, people underestimate this kid, but I've seen this guy come along from day one when we signed him out of the Hungary fight when we fought in Budapest. So I feel like this kid is going to come and he's going to bring it. And after that fight, let's see how AJ does, and we can always revisit that. But I will say this: if you look at our roster, I think this is the best roster I've ever had at Bellator, and it's taken us about 4 or 5 years to get here. And we got a lot of young kids I'm super high on, and we got a lot of good veterans. But if you look at our 155-pound weight class, with Masayev and Usman Nurmagomedov and Pitbull and Benson Henderson, who came off of a great win against Peter Queally. So, I think going into next year, one of the things that these guys are going to consider is that probably will be our 155-pound tournament next year. So I think some of the fighters might want to stick around and stay a little heavier to try to go after that prize money of $1 million bonus that we give out at the end of the tournament.
Is this a Helwani exclusive 55 tournament next year for Bellator?
This is an exclusive Helwani 55 tournament. We're going to get it on, and it's going to be amazing because I'm telling you, when I saw Masayev fight in Japan in 19, and he beat Patricky, I was like, this kid's really good. And then we had the opportunity to sign him, and Usman. Javier tells me Usman's going to win the tournament, and Javier very rarely steers me wrong. But I think these kids are going to have their hands full, man. I think it's going to be an amazing tournament, and Brett Primus is going to be in the mix. We haven't decided who the 8 fighters are, but look, if AJ likes fighting at 55, you'll definitely get an invitation to step up. And if he wants to go back to 45, that's fine. But it's going to be an amazing tournament next year, and I think that's the division we're going to go after.
And when do you hope to kick this off?
Well, we're going to finish our light heavyweight tournament in November.
Right. The
semifinals in December with the guys that you had to break up.
Yes.
I felt bad. I had to send in security.
Thank you.
Next time.
You.
But I feel like we want to set this off in February.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking is February will be a good month, and let's get it on, man. And then we'll do the finals of the bantamweight tournament sometime in March is what I'm thinking.
So I was answering some questions at the top of today's show. On Wednesdays, we like to answer questions from the crowd and the audience, and they were asking me like, okay, what's your take on all the other non-UFC promotions right now? And I was saying what's key, like what you had, the magic I think that you had back in the day was you had women, UFC didn't have women, so that kind of separated you. You had like the strong Bay Area market. They obviously didn't really have a foothold there. The tournament is a thing that you have that they don't have. Do you feel like you need to have things that they don't have to separate so that you aren't viewed as, the same as UFC as opposed to this different? Because the women really, like Gina and Cyborg was a huge deal. They'd had nothing that could touch that. So that really gave you a big spotlight. Now, of course, they have women, so you can't really hang your hat on that. Is it important for you to have things that they don't have in order to stick out and give fans that other option? Because they're essentially running every weekend these days.
Yeah, you know what? I don't really look at it like that. And I think I've said this from the very beginning. Look, this is an industry, and mixed martial arts fighting is an industry, and it's a sport on itself. And to me, they're doing their thing. We're doing our thing. I don't ever sit back and compare. We are so busy internally working, and growing this company and signing more fighters and putting on events around the world. And so to me, that's what I focus on, and really not what do they have or who don't they have. I mean, to me, it's a fighter-based business. And to me, that's the key. That's what we're focusing on.
You are, as far as the big promotions in North America, You're the last one that lets fighters. I know there's some restrictions here or there, but you let them have multiple sponsors. You let them have the banner. It's very old school, and I love that. I love the fact that these guys can earn that extra income. It drives me nuts that they're wearing uniforms and all this stuff, and even the PFLs of the world are limiting, and I think that's crazy. Why would you limit? Fighters deserve to make that. Their sponsors all over the cage. They deserve to make what they can make. Why is this something that you have continued to do while the other major North American promotions aren't doing anymore?
Well, I think you said it exactly right. Basically, these guys are, in a situation where they can make their money over a certain amount of years. And so to me, let go make your money. It's the same reason why we let fighters go fight in bare knuckle fighting, or fighters go fight in Ryzen, or look, if you have an opportunity, come, let's sit down, let's talk about it. If it makes sense, then let's do it. And the sponsors for the fighters, I mean, to me, that's a small ask, and the banners, it does look old school. And you know what? I'm fine with it. I think it looks like it's supposed to back in the day. And so to me, I don't have a problem with it. And they have a little bit more freedom here, maybe than in other leagues. But Michael fighting in bare knuckle, that was something where he came to me and said, "Hey, I really wanted to go do this." And when he told me the economics involved for him, there's no way I could tell this kid no.
Wow.
I said, "Hey, you know what? When you fight, Michael, you got to go and you got to do your best, and you're representing us, because if you lose, we lose too, right? Because your value is based on you winning and growing and getting better." And so, keep in mind, you're representing the company, and do your best. And he went out there, he gave it a valiant effort, didn't work out for him. And I texted him, I said, "Look, I know it didn't work out, but hey, I hope that this is just, as far as like the learning process, and you get get your hands better, get your feet better. But, in mixed martial arts, you are still one of the top fighters in the world, and don't let this one fight, let bring you down." And so we go to the battle, we go back to the drawing board with him. But honestly, Errol, it's like, when if he would have won, it would have been a different, outcome for everybody, because, then he could continue riding. But, now he's coming off of 2 defeats in a row, and we have to take a step back, I think, to take a step forward for his next fight.
Platinum Perry doesn't have an MMA home. What about running it back in Bellator? Have you guys thought about that?
Yeah, I think they did, and I would love to do it, because Michael is an MMA fighter, not just a striker, a boxer, right? So I would love to do it, but I know that they engaged with his management, and didn't seem like it was like a mutual feeling.
Oh,
But I think McKee represents him, but
yes.
it's he's a tough cookie sometimes, and maybe we just got to keep talking and wear him down eventually. But I'd love to promote that fight. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun. Speaking of like letting people do it, can you give me some clarity on this? What is the state of your relationship with Cris Cyborg? Because I saw social media, you gave her the nod. Hey, go check out her fight. She boxed on Sunday. I think her contract is up. I'm not really sure where PFL is talking about her. Kayla wants to fight her. Can you tell me what is going on there with like, is she a Bellator fighter, or is she not a Bellator fighter?
Yeah, she is under exclusive. No, not exclusive. She's actually in the matching period of her contract. But her and I have a very good relationship. And I told her, I said, "Look, go train and do your fight." And kind of all fell during this training camp period of time. So I said, "Look, when you come back from Brazil, let's sit down and let's make a deal." I have every intention to have her on our roster. It's just, we just got to sit down and hammer out the deal. So that's something I feel that we'll get done here when she gets back from Brazil. I think the middle of the month.
Okay.
But I feel that the relationship is solid, and we'll be in the cyborg business for many years to come.
I love that you guys went after Kayla. I would have loved to have seen that fight, Kayla Harrison versus Cyborg. It didn't work out. They matched. Are there enough fights out there for Cyborg? Like, she's sometimes having to run these back with opponents that she beat rather convincingly. Do you feel like there's enough interesting fights for her right now in Bellator?
There's a couple of girls out there, like one, Leah McCourt being one, that but yeah, in the past we've had to revisit some fights and run it back. When you look at Arlene Blenkow's fight against Cyborg, the second fight was really good, better than the first fight.
Right.
So to me, it's like there might be some rematches, but as you know, listen, there's Amanda Nunes in the UFC, there's Kayla, there's Cyborg, and then there's a handful of girls, but it's not like a weight class that there's a lot of really like high level, like 20 fighters sitting out there waiting to step up. I mean, it's like it's a handful of girls that could really fight at this level. So yeah, it is tough. But you know what? I think she likes boxing. I think she wants to continue boxing. At some point, Stephen and I and her will sit down and maybe have that conversation. But to me, if she wants to box and fight MMA, I think we could keep her busy in both those arenas to where it could be worth it for her.
There's a fighter who was just let go from the UFC because she kept missing weight at 35. Her name is Aspen Ladd. People think she should fight at 45. Her versus Cyborg makes a lot of sense. I feel like in the past, maybe the old Bellator would have ran and signed her, but I feel like you have tried to make a conscious effort, correct me if I'm wrong, of not signing every single fighter who has been kind of let go from the UFC, a UFC cast-off, if you will. You want to try to build your own guys and gals and not be viewed as that place where, the cast-offs go. Is that an accurate assessment of the sort of like the mindset of who you're trying to sign and who you're not trying to sign?
Yeah, and actually, I think her manager reached out to us. I introduced him to Mike, so I know they're talking.
Okay.
And I know the situation was more due to weight than her being, losing fights in the cage. But it's not that there's a concentrated effort of not to sign fighters that have lost in the UFC, but really, what to me, what is the matchup that we're looking for when a fighter becomes free, and then how long is it going to take to build that fight, and is it going to move eyeballs? Is it going to move the needle, right? And if it is, then we're going to go after it. I mean, we're not afraid to go after free agents, right? It's or people that have gotten released, but it has to make sense for the company overall and the overall structure. So to me, there's a lot of moving parts to this formula because, as you know, fighters lose and then you're shuffling the deck and the ratings come out and it's like all over. So this is a fluid process. Every month we have to reshuffle the deck and we have to figure out, okay, what makes sense for us, what doesn't make sense for us, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
So, are you guys interested in Aspen Ladd?
I think they're talking, and I don't know anything more about it than that, honestly. And I'm sure they're talking to everybody. So, let's see what happens. I mean, at the end of the day, I hear good things about her, but there's nothing imminent or that's going on behind the scenes. Otherwise, I would tell you right now. I'd give you the exclusive here, Ariel.
Yes,
but it's not something that's down the pipe.
Well, moments ago, you gave us the breaking news exclusive. And by the way, Mysterious Frank kind of slept on that one. Frank, we had the breaking news there earlier that you announced 150, but that's what we play. We play that when there's breaking news, but I think Frank was on a lunch break, so he missed that, but it's okay. And around an hour ago, as fate would have it, Scott, we had an old friend of yours, Eddie Alvarez, on the program to talk about his free agency, spoke glowingly of you, said you were the man who freed him while another promoter named Bjorn was holding him captive. He only had nice things and said he would love to maybe revisit the idea of going back to Bellator. Eddie, in the 55 tournament, you're doing a tournament. I feel like that would be a nice little shot in the arm. What do you think of that?
Yeah, you know what? My initial response was like, you know where this company is going. We have a lot of veterans and we have a lot of great talent, and we have a lot of young fighters that are up and coming, and we're putting a big investment into the younger talent, right? So when I thought about Eddie originally, I was like, well, I kind of like the roster where it's at, right? Announcing the 155-pound tournament, could it be interesting? I mean, it's worth a conversation. I mean, Eddie was a great guy, and what he meant by getting him out of the deal. When I came on board, I flew to Florida and I sat down with Eddie and Glenn Robinson. Actually, it's
may he rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah, and we sat down and we both agreed. Said, hey, look, this is probably not a fit for you, and let's just keep the door open, right? And so here it is, 8 years later, and he's free. But I really haven't talked to him. I haven't sat down with him. I have not had any type of conversation with him. I don't even know who the manager is, honestly. So, and then, let's see what the deal would look like. But it's worth a conversation. I'm not saying that, it's something that we would pursue, but it's at least worth a conversation at this point.
Well, I could put you guys in touch. I think Mike knows his agent, Lloyd Pearson. So I could mediate if you'd like. He said he would be happy to have me in the room for his negotiations. So.
Is Lloyd the one that was out of Texas?
Yes, he lives in Dallas. He is working for Vayner Media, Vayner
Yeah,
Sports.
tell Lloyd next time he needs to pick up the check, because
Oh,
last time he just kind of pushed the check over to me and go,
oh
"I'm
no.
sure you're going to take care of this, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, Lloyd, you're a nice guy." We had lunch with the Beecher Belfort when Belfort was free, and we had and Rich was there, myself, and we had lunch, I go, oh, I'm assuming he's going to pick it up,
Yeah.
and he just kind of slid like, here you
Oh
go,
no.
take this. One of
Wow.
those guys.
Okay. I'll take that up with him as well. I'll take that up with him. Uh,
Yeah, Lloyd, come on,
yeah, come on,
you're a big
Lloyd.
time agent, man. Pick up the check.
Pick up the check. Jeez Louise. Don't give us the old dinosaur hands, like, oh, would you like
The alligator arms, buddy.
yes, yes,
Alligator
yes.
arms.
Can I ask, I'm happy that you're on. There was a period where I thought maybe you would never come on my show. I heard that everyone at Bellator was very mad at me for this interview that AJ McKee did on my program right before his last fight, where he was talking about his future and wanting to get paid and all this stuff. I'm happy that this is all water under the bridge. Here I am bringing it up again. But just how mad were you at me and the things that AJ said? Because it seemed like a bit of an awkward time there.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I nothing surprises me anymore, Ariel. Like, I've been in this business so long and dealing with fighters at the highest level and mid level and beginning. Like, it's I've seen it all, right? And I feel like there's no scenario that hasn't come my way. And I can't even remember the details of that. I just remember, he was a young kid feeling really good about his tournament
Yes.
win, and he has $1 million in his pocket. He's going to go buy a Porsche, going to go buy a house. He's
Yeah.
going to do all this stuff. And then, they get a mic in front of him and they start talking. And some of the things I remember were not even factual, because, he still has a contract with us and he's still part of the team. But they get excited and they start talking and start, stuff starts flowing out. And then, of course, then he's on your show, which is the biggest show in MMA. And then now it's like, people are like, hey, creating a lot of, hey, is he a free agent? Does he hate Coker? Does he hate Bellator? And so we got through that, but I told my guys, I said, listen, just calm down. This is par for the course, man. This is not, should not surprise you, right? But these things happen, and it's not just us. If you look at any company, it happens with all the fighters. At some point, they get excited, and the kid just won a big fight, came out with a $1 million payday on top of his pay, and he just started talking. So he came up to me and apologized. I said, "Yeah, there's nothing to apologize about. We're good.
Oh, wow.
Let's just keep moving forward and make it happen, because I believe in the kid. You believe in the kid.
Yeah.
You said you should put all your eggs in
Yep.
the McKee camp. And I said, you're right. I mean, we have a lot of hopes for this guy, and had a little setback with Pitbull, close fight, didn't work out, and at some point in the future, I hope they get to run it back.
So you want to be in the AJ McKee business for the foreseeable future?
Oh yeah, of course. I love AJ. He's a great talent, and really it's so nice to sit down and talk to, and he's calm. And when I first met him, I was like, oh my God, is he going to talk to me for 8 hours like his dad? I mean, like, his dad corners me in the office, at the Bellator office, the other ones, and I swear to God, 8 hours later, he's still talking, and I'm like, you should have a reality show, Pops. You should have a reality show, because you are funny. You got some good lyrics, man. You should make it happen. But anyway, he's a joy to work with. I think he's a tremendous talent, and he's a guy that we found from the ground up. And I love working with the fighters that we built from the ground up, because that's going to be the future of the company.
And now, what about your future, Scott? How many more years you want to do this for? I mean, have you thought in your mind, okay, like, I'm getting tired of these guys complaining, all these fights, flying all over the world. Have you put an end date on? I mean, you just want to golf. You want to go to Warriors games. You want to put your feet up, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you, it's this is a grind business, right? Because there is a lot of traveling, and you're on the road. Half the year for the week you're on the road, right? And you know how it is. That's a grind. It's like, but when you come off big fights like Ireland and the fight we're going to have in LA, it just, to me, I love it. I mean, to me, this is something I love. This is not a job to me. This is something I've done, as like started as something I just, like a hobby almost, and it turned into a business. And I don't mean a hobby in the beginning, with Bellator. I'm talking about back in the 80s when I first started, right? I was teaching martial arts, and then I had this small kickboxing business, no TV, no sponsorship. And then ESPN came in like 87, 88, and we started doing fights. But it's just something I love to do. And honestly, it's, I feel like it's my commitment to martial arts and give back to martial arts. I think we're very good at what we do. I think I developed a great team. I think we add tremendous value into the sport. And somebody, you need more than one successful company to build an industry. And so, to me, that's our goal is to just keep hammering away, keep providing opportunity for these kids that don't want to go to the other guys and come here, and we provide a home for them and provide a living for them. And they do very well here. And you don't hear a lot of fighters complain about Bellator and how they're treated here. And it's we go way out of our way to try to really take care of them.
So no end date. You haven't said like when I reach this age, I just want to retire.
No, I'll tell you, I went to my instructor's 75th birthday. Right, this is my martial arts teacher, Ernie Ray, senior, and he had this birthday celebration. And when I look at him as a mentor, he's been such a great role model. And Errol, from the day I walked into his school, as a child, I was 11 years old, to now, he still is working out every day. He still is teaching every day. He still loves martial arts as much as he has every day. He still diets, and eats good every day. I've never seen this guy, not be, engulfed in his passion. And he's 75 now. So to me, it's a little bit different, but it's something that I have passion for. I love it, and I'm going to keep doing it. So I'm going to keep doing it as long as I'm enjoying it, and that's really what it comes down to for me. Is that, am I enjoying it, and am I still good at it, and are we making a difference? And if I can answer those three things, then I'll continue. And right now, the answers are yes.
By the way, your favorite night as a promoter, what was it?
Ah, man. There's so many. I mean, honestly,
there's not one that sticks out like super special.
To me, honestly, the fight that just like the greatest. I'll tell you this: the greatest fight I've seen in person was the Diaz Daly fight in San Diego.
Oh yeah,
that was a strike force. That was like the Tommy Hearns Hagler fight. To me, that was that.
But that was a weird one. You're sitting next to Dana White, like it was like your baby had been taken away from you, right? That was super weird. You take that awkward photo.
I'm talking about the fight.
Sure, yeah.
The fight. So the fight, that was it. And the other fight that I went to was Pride, when Diaz fought Gomi.
Oh yeah.
That was unbelievable. But how many great fights did I get a chance to sit there and watch in person in Japan between 1999 and 2007?
Oh my God.
I mean, it's like, I would go to K1 one day. The next day I'd go to Pride, right? And then the next day I'd go to Shudo or Pancrase, or like, in a week's time, you can go to like 5 events and in Japan. It's unbelievable there. And when I think about the Strikeforce era, the fight that sticks out to me really is the Conley versus Frank Shamrock fight.
Yeah.
Because it was electric in there. It was like kind of like a passing of the torch, because Frank was getting towards the end of his career, and he still had a lot left in the gas tank, but didn't work out. I remember the first kick that kicked Frank. Instead of blocking 2 hands, he blocked like this. And I remember Maurice Smith telling him, Frank, block it. Frank told me the first kick, he said he heard it go crack. The second kick, he felt the bone separate. And then the third kick, when Kung hit him, I saw the X-ray. It was literally like this.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Like the bone that completely separated. Like it was just like,
yeah,
it was just ugly. And but just the energy of the crowd. Cris Cyborg, that was another one that was like, historical, because for the first time in mixed martial arts history, you have a main event on television that was on Showtime in the San Jose arena. We had 15,000 people and big energy, and it's just electric in there. And then there's the Fedor fight against Fabricio Verdum.
Oh my gosh. When
Fabricio armbarred him, and it was like just silence. People just couldn't believe it. Like, did this just happen? Like, this is, like freaking out. And I remember Vadim Finkelstein would give me such a hard time about this fight. I just looked over to him like, I love Fedor, but I was like,
yeah,
good job, buddy. Now you're out. Now you're out of here. You're going to go away. So, it was just, he was just a hard guy to deal with, and just made us jump through all kind of hoops. But today's Fedor's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Happy birthday, Fedor. It's his birthday today. So I sent a little tweet earlier, or I'm going to send him a tweet in here in a little bit. But Happy birthday, Fedor. It's to me, what an honor and a privilege to be his promoter and see him come through, all the days of pride and all the great fights he did for us. Really an honor to promote him.
What about that idea that we talked about last week? Fedor Emelianenko against Anderson Silva. What do you think? Last fight for both guys, GOAT versus GOAT in Japan. Feels perfect. Any traction after we spoke about it? Anything come up? Anyone hit you up?
Yeah, Fedor hit me up. What? Why am I gonna fight Anderson Silva? I said, no, everybody just calm down.
Oh
This is
my
not
gosh.
that fight. I mean, listen, I would personally, like you, I would love to see that fight, right? But Fedor, he's got his bullseye on Ryan Bader. Wants to fight Ryan Bader.
Okay.
So Ryan, is resting, and he wants to fight, beginning of next year. So we're gonna have a conversation. But if and I don't know, I think Anderson enjoys boxing. I haven't talked to him, but I think he enjoys boxing, and he's gonna continue boxing, and he's gonna fight Jake Paul in the Showtime pay-per-view coming up. So but listen, if there was an opportunity, would I love to do it? Of course that would be amazing. The two goats, right?
It would be incredible.
Come on,
I love it.
That would be amazing. Yeah,
I'd go to that.
Would you come to Japan?
I'd come to Japan.
You go to Japan?
Yeah. Can you tell Fedor I'll be there if he makes that fight? If he agrees to that fight, I'll be there. I feel like that's a good selling point.
Well, the other problem is I think the weight. I mean, I don't think even if you wanted to put that fight together, I think Anderson would probably want it to be under a certain weight. And Fedor's like, I'm a heavyweight. Why would I want to lose?
Just make it open weight, old school.
Maybe. Listen, I think we're going down a path that's probably just hypothetical, right? So, but listen, as a fan, I'd love it. It would be unbelievable.
Well, that's hypothetical. What is not hypothetical is this Saturday, October 1st, Long Beach. You got the return of AJ McKee, who is from that area, so that scene should be incredible. Very smart to put him on that card against Spike Carlisle. Patricio Pitbull fighting Aaron Borix, defending his title. Aaron Pico returning. He looks to be in incredible shape. I saw a photo of him. The guy is like, I don't know if he has any body fat left on there, against my fellow Canadian Jeremy Kennedy. Something for everyone, and you guys just tweeted before we spoke. Any MMA media that now doesn't have any plans because the UFC event has now been closed off to the media, you are graciously inviting them to cover your show on Saturday. So that is a very nice thing that you guys are doing. Scott, thank you so much for the time. Great to catch up as always. Appreciate you very much, and good luck not only on Saturday, but rest of the way. You got that card in November, but also the big one involving my buddies Stotts and Sabatello. We gave you some nice promotional material there in December. Yeah,
big. Listen, next time we're going to bring security for you. I don't want you to get hurt breaking these guys up. I would feel bad. I would be responsible.
Thank you.
Ariel, thank you for your support, buddy.
Always. There he is, Scott Coker, president over at Bellator MMA. Love reminiscing with Scott. He has seen it all. He has done it all in the world of combat, not just MMA, but also kickboxing, of course, Japan, Strikeforce, Bellator, K1, Pride. This man has been everywhere, and always nice to go down memory lane with him.